SentinelOne went down, Google Calendar controlled malware, and the banks are done with the SEC. I'm Allie Diamond, and this is ThreatWire. A fun C2 communication tactic was found by the team at Google's threat intelligence group. The threat actor, tracked as APT41, also known as Hoodoo, used Google Calendar as its control and command server for a new attack campaign. Originally discovered in October 2024, APT41 sent spear phishing emails to convince targets to download malicious zip archives hosted on a compromised government website. The zip unpacked, and the targeted Windows machine was infected with a new malware Google dubbed Tough Process. The malware obfuscates its actions using register-based indirect calls, dynamic address arithmetic, 64-bit register overflows, and a function dispatch table. The malware communicates to the C2 server, which is actually an attacker-based Google Calendar. The operator places encrypted commands in calendar events on 2023-0730 and 2023-0731, which are predetermined dates also hard-coded into the malware. Tough Process then begins pulling calendar for these events. When an event is retrieved, the event description is decrypted and the command it contains is executed on the compromised host. Results from the command execution are encrypted and written back to another Google Calendar event. The use of Google Calendar as a C2 server is not novel, but is new for this APT group. The use of GCal as a C2 server has been documented previously by the team at Veracode regarding an NPM software supply chain attack. Google has shared its indicators of compromise, which we've linked to in the description below. It's been almost 1 year since CrowdStrike and took down a large number of computers globally. CrowdStrike's close competitor recently had a major outage of their own. SentinelOne is the leading competition for endpoint detection and response. On Thursday, May 29, 2025, SentinelOne had a total outage of Management Console and related services. This didn't stop functionality of their actual endpoint monitoring, just that the security teams using the dashboards lost access. For those who aren't aware of SentinelOne in terms of its competition to CrowdStrike, we recently discussed SentinelOne here on ThreatWire as it was the place of employment of Chris Krebs prior to his federal investigation. The root cause of the disruption was a software flaw in an infrastructure control system that removed critical network routes, causing widespread loss of network connectivity within the SentinelOne platform. It was not a security-related event. The majority of SentinelOne services experienced full or partial downtime due to this sudden loss of network connectivity to critical components in all regions. They specifically call out that the outage was caused by their working transition to move to infrastructure as code principles. Specifically in the transition, rules regarding critical network routes and their DNS resolvers for connecting to infrastructure was accidentally deleted from their production system. SentinelOne was down for 7 hours globally. You could say that during that time, SentinelOne was Sentinel-0. Conversations have been floating around for years about the idea of making paying out ransomware ransoms illegal. In steps towards more cybersecurity attack transparency, we've seen governments create more regulations and reporting requirements for companies. Australia has formalized and implemented their new rules regarding requirements for ransomware disclosures. The regulations went into effect on May 30th, 2025, after being defined under Part 3 of the Cybersecurity Act 2024. The ruling applies to all Australian-based companies that meet the, quote, annual turnover threshold of $3 million Australian. The report must be filed using the Australian Signals Directorate reporting tool within 72 hours of making the payment or becoming aware of the payment. The report must include a variety of information, including, but not limited to, the amount of the ransom, what vulnerabilities were used to execute the ransomware, communications with the threat actors regarding the ransom, and more. This ransomware reporting is the first of its kind globally, according to the reporters at Dark Reading. Its formalization arrives at a unique time where, in the US, we are seeing strong pushback regarding regulated breach disclosures. This past week, several banking groups representing the majority of US-based banks submitted a formal petition for the rescinding of the Cybersecurity Risk Management Strategy, Governance, and Incident Disclosure Rule adopted by the SEC in July 2023. This rule is the rule that requires publicly traded companies to report material cybersecurity incidents to the SEC within 4 business days of becoming aware. The form is filed under the Form 8K Item 1.05 for domestic issuers and under Form 6K for foreign private issuers. The banking groups argue that this ruling is too vague and poorly defined, causes harm to affected groups if the breach is not remediated by the end of the 4 business days, and adds no value to public investors. With the new proposal of the ransomware disclosure requirements in Australia going into effect, but now seeing the pushback of the disclosure requirements happening in the US, do you think that the regulations in Australia will be received well or received with the same kind of pushback? Thank you so much for watching ThreatWire for the week of June 2nd, 2025. If you enjoyed this show, please head over to patreon.com/ThreatWire. I didn't end up streaming Writing ThreatWire live this week on the Hack5 channel, but I will be doing it next week, so definitely be sure to turn on notifications if you want to find out when. If you want to find me, you can find me online